Thank you so much for that inspirational message, Alejandra. Good afternoon, ACS. A special shout out to the graduating class of 2020. We made it. I'm Mohammed Alam, pronouns are he, his, and I'm an ACS Next Generation Leader, a former chapter leader, and a graduate of the University at Buffalo School of Law. Go Bulls. And a big shout out to my fellow UB law graduates who are watching today. I now have the distinct privilege of introducing a juggernaut in the legal community and one of the most inspirational judges I've had the chance to meet, both at a student convention and our national convention, Judge Carlton Reeves of the United States Southern District of Mississippi. Judge Reeves was raised in rural Yazoo City in Mississippi. He was the first in his family to attend a traditional four-year college and graduated magna cum laude from Jackson State University. He then received his law degree from the University of Virginia School of Law, graduating in 1989 as a Ritter Scholar. And in 1991, he began his legal career as a staff attorney for that state's Supreme Court in Mississippi. He went on to private practice as an associate for Phelps Dunbar, and then later served as the chief of the Civil Division for the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Mississippi. And in 2001, he returned to private practice when he founded his own firm, Pigott, Reeves and Johnson. Judge Carlton Reeves was elevated to federal judicial service in 2010 when he was nominated by President Barack Obama. He is the second African-American to serve on the federal judiciary in Mississippi. And Judge Reeves is the author of a number of groundbreaking decisions, some of which include Campaign for Southern Equality versus Bryant, which struck down that state's same-sex marriage ban, and Jackson Women's Health Organization versus Courier, which struck down that state's law banning abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy. Now, before we hear from the amazing judge, I just want to highlight a very timely and important message that he delivered last year at his alma mater law school. And in that speech, Judge Reeves acknowledged that when courts look like the country they represent, that more than any claim to prestige or pedigree is what instills public confidence in the courts. He continued to say that when people of every race, ethnicity, religion, gender, and sexual orientation can see their own experiences reflected in our highest institutions, they receive hope and inspiration beyond measure. At a crucial time when we are about to embark on our legal careers, Judge Carlton Reeves' powerful message and quote reminds me of our duty to build public confidence in the courts and in the law. I believe in ACS and us to help make that happen. So now, without further ado, I would like to welcome to everyone, Judge Carlton Reeves.
Judge Reeves, you're on mute.
Okay. Are we here?
Works.
We're good?
Yep.
Good.
Okay, thank you. I would be the first one to screw it up, so that's all right. Thank you so very much, Mohammed. I appreciate you so much. You pronounced my hometown correctly, Yazoo City. First of all, though, Jill Dash, Megan Paulus, thank you so very much for asking me to be a part of this. Zanelle, thank you for holding down the ACS during the transition period after Caroline's long time and productive leadership. And I want to thank each of the members and friends of the ACS and all those who had a hand in putting this together for the ACS graduates. To Senator Feingold, I look forward to feeling your leadership, seeing your leadership, and experiencing your leadership. You have demonstrated that there can be common ground. McCain Feingold, even when there are slopes, valleys, rugged mountains, quicksand, and naysayers all around you. You've shown that it can be done. So I'm honored also to be here with my friend Melissa Murray. She's a friend of mine. We've met each other a few times, and I've enjoyed being around her. But when I was asked if I would participate in this, I was told that she was going to be here. So I gladly accepted, hoping that this be some sort of tag team. Well, maybe another time. Graduates, I do suggest very strongly that you listen to her podcast, Strict Scrutiny. Some of you, as they say, may learn a thing or two. I say you will learn a whole lot more than that. To the graduates, we are here to honor and celebrate you. Or as ACS says, to show our love and appreciation, celebrate your incredible accomplishments, and the hard part for me at least, to provide you with some inspiration. I say hard part. Not only is this my first virtual talk, but as you can see, look at me, hashtag, I believe in science. I stand before you not having a haircut since early March, nor having shaved for about that long too as well. The worst part about it is that I'm not sure exactly when I'll be able to get my next haircut or when I will shave. COVID-19 is real. It has impacted us in ways we could never have imagined. But not having an imagination does not mean we could not have been better prepared, nor does it mean that we should discount or reject the advice of the scientific community, which is working so tirelessly to find a cure. I also tip my hat to the dedicated professionals who are sacrificing so much in ways we could never have imagined, every day, every hour, for our sick brethren across the country. As I said, graduates, today is your day. You all have made us proud, extremely proud. And if we were together in our physical presence here with each other, this is the point where I would ask everyone to stand and cheer with me, celebrate these fine, extraordinary people, and we would be making all kinds of noise. Of course, I know too, graduates, that you too understand and appreciate that you would not even be where you are, but for the love, the support, prayers, encouragement, and the sacrifices of your mom, your pops, your spouse, your partner, that spouse to be who you met in your contracts or your torts or your common law class, your siblings, your children, your other relatives, those relatives who proudly proclaim and with enthusiasm said, my cousin is going to be a lawyer soon, as well as those relatives who may have also lamented, he's going to be a lawyer. I just don't understand why he would do such a thing. A lawyer, gee whiz. And we cannot forget about your friends and your classmates. They were all there burning the midnight oil with you. And last but not least, some incredible faculty members, those who challenged you, those who believed in you, and those who motivated you. Again, were we in the physical presence of one another, I would now ask all of you to stand and show love to those folk who have a right to claim a piece of your diploma. Show love to them. You can scream, you can holler, you could whistle, you can do all of that stuff. And then I will calm you down. I'll say, hold on, sit down, let's take our seats again. And then I will tell you what I always tell folks is that I'll say thanks, and then that will allow me to tell you that I'll go back to my chambers after this speech is over, and after having seen you all stand up and shout, and I'll go back and tell my law clerks and my colleagues and friends that I spoke to the ACS graduation, and I got one hell of a standing ovation. But since we are virtual, I really can't do that. I do want to take a point of personal privilege and just encourage you all. I know many of you will be law clerks for colleagues across the country. I want to encourage those who decided not to take that step initially, even after you've practiced for a couple of years or more. Please consider serving as a law clerk. The judges on our state and federal court would benefit from your talents and from the talents that you bring. Second point of personal privilege. To those of you from my alma mater, the University of Virginia School of Law, I know you're here with us. I know this has been a turbulent ride for you. As you began law school, white supremacists had come to your town, invaded your campus, and caused chaos, destruction, and even death in the community. Not the welcome I'm sure that you expected, not the welcome that you could imagine. In her essay, The Original False Equivalency, quoting Frederick Douglass, Elizabeth R. Barron said, "There is a right side and a wrong side in the late war, which no sentiment ought to cause us to forget." That late war that Frederick Douglass was speaking of was the Civil War. Those early days in August of 2017, there on the lawn and throughout the city of Charlottesville, contrary to what some have proclaimed, like that late war, there was no equivalency between those who marched with tiki torches shouting "White Lives Matter" and "Jews will not replace us." There was a right side and a wrong side. No equivalency whatsoever between those who incited violence and those who, like Heather Heyer, came with honor, with dignity, and came in peace, promoting the simple principle of common ground. In her thought-provoking essay concerning those same events, entitled "Where Do We Go From Here?", a title taken from Dr. King's works, Dean Risa Galyaba addressed that interrogatory and closed out her essay with this quote from Thurgood Marshall. "I wish," he said, "I could say that racism and prejudice were only distant memories. We must dissent from indifference. We must dissent from apathy. We must dissent from fear, the hatred, and the mistrust. We must dissent because America can do better, because America has no choice but to do better." So UVA students, it does not escape me how your law school journey has been bookended by tiki torches and COVID-19. But to the ACS graduates, now for the hard part. Hopefully over the next few moments, I hope you will agree with me that your fundamental purpose as a lawyer is to make America better. Make America live up to its aspirational goal. That goal, you know the preamble, to make it a more perfect union. A more perfect union of, by, and for we, the people. Not us versus them, but we, the people. America has become great again when she recognized she needed to be corrected, that she had veered off course, when she recognized that she was wrong, when she came to realize that we, the people, really and truly means we, as in all, and not just some or most, but all as in every. America became greater again when she understood that she could and indeed needed to be made more perfect. We've seen and read about her having morphed from imperfect to more perfect. When she renounced slavery, for example, and sought to reconstruct herself through the Emancipation Proclamation, the great event of the 19th century, she became more perfect, reconstructed herself through the passage of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. She sought to become more perfect just a century ago when she figured out that women too had the right to cast ballots, that their voice should be heard in this democracy. More perfect when she rejected separate but equal through Brown versus Board in one unanimous voice, a decision which has been described as the most important American governmental act of any kind since the Emancipation Proclamation. Our America became more perfect when she recognized past injustices and expanded the meaning of we, the people. And while on common ground, actually expanded that definition of we with the passages of the Civil Rights Acts of 1957, 1960, 1964, 1968, the Equal Pay Act of 1963, and the crown jewel of them all, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the greatest civil rights legislation since Reconstruction. I say crown jewel because I agree with President Johnson. He said that the vote is the most powerful instrument ever devised by man for breaking down injustice and destroying the terrible walls which imprison men because they are different from other men. Not through with seeking to be better, America became more perfect when, in again one unanimous voice, America declared that the state of Virginia must recognize the love that Mildred and Richard had for one another. There was no place in a more perfect America for anti-miscegenation laws, and still not done in trying to get to perfection. Again, on common ground in 1990, America rallied to make sure that we, the people, would include, as President George H.W. Bush proudly proclaimed, every man, every woman, and every child with a disability, so that they can now pass through once closed doors into a bright new era of equality, independence, and freedom. The ADA is the world's first comprehensive declaration of equality for people with disabilities, making the United States the leader on that human rights issue. They need not be mocked or ridiculed or discriminated against. Indeed, America had become more perfect. And still not done with becoming more perfect, our America would answer in the affirmative the following questions. Can gay and lesbian citizens love? Can gay and lesbian citizens have long-lasting and committed relationships? Can gay and lesbian citizens love and care for children? Can gay and lesbian citizens provide what is best for their children? Can gay and lesbian citizens help make their children good and productive citizens? Without the right to marry, are gay and lesbian citizens subjected to humiliation and indignity? Without the right to marry, are gay and lesbian citizens subjected to state-sanctioned prejudice? Answering yes to each of those questions means that we, the people, also include gays and lesbians. They are not second-class citizens, and thus America was made more perfect. From its earliest days, from America's earliest days, those who would say, give me liberty or give me death, or I regret that I have but one life to lose for my country, to the days of the abolitionists like Frederick Douglass, John Brown, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, to the suffragettes, Susan B. Anthony and Sadie Adams, to the Band of Brothers and the Tuskegee Airmen, to the civil rights warriors, Ida B. Wells, Ella Baker, W.B. Du Bois, Charles Hamilton Houston, Jack Greenberg, Fannie Lou Hamer, Bayard Rustin, Thurgood Marshall, Constance Baker Motley, James Lawson, to the Freedom Riders. We all are products of, descendants of, and have benefited from the bravery and the courage of those citizen soldiers of the past. I give special homage to the Freedom Riders because those children, yes, they were children, those young ladies, those young men, Diane Nash, June Johnson, Bob Moses, John Lewis, most of whom were younger than you. They chose to interrupt their lives, put their dreams and aspirations on hold. They, like George Washington, had been summoned by our country. They risked their lives, and some even gave their lives to stand for equality, trying to make our America be more perfect. Those young people, as described in the Hands on the Freedom Plow, personal accounts by women in SNCC, they came to my Mississippi and chose to enter Southern prisons, memorialized for their brutality in legends and songs, denied basic necessities, placed on death row or in isolation, crowded together, subjected to beatings and sexual harassment. Yet they still found ways to offset the jailers' tactics and to stage protests in jail. I pay special homage to those freedom riders because on the day that I took my oath, we were celebrating what those courageous citizen soldiers had done 5 decades earlier. Those children, those young ladies, those young gentlemen, those young people, though registered to vote in their own communities, chose to come to my Mississippi and to register Black voters here so that we could see what democracy feels like, so that we, through sit-ins, could see what democracy tastes like, so that we could put democracy in action. They came to what many viewed as a vast wasteland to inspire equality. I pay special homage to them because but for their work and them withstanding the criminal indignities that they suffered, I would not be standing before you today with the power and the authority of an Article III judge. I pay homage to the Freedom Riders because many were unremarkable in name, yet remarkable in character, remarkable in their commitment to make America more perfect. Returning to Freedom Plow, in the face of the beatings and the bombings, the issue for the Freedom Riders was always how to make social and political change, how to press forward, how to keep going. In short, how to make a movement. In their world, freedom and justice were real, solid, and tangible. Freedom and justice were the reason for being and doing and the reasons for dying. ACS grads, I'm not asking you to give up your life, but it's your time to accept the baton of making America more perfect. You are the citizen soldiers we need at this moment and at this time. Like the abolitionists, the suffragettes, the freedom riders, and yes, the counter-protesters in Charlottesville, we need you to make America more perfect. That vast wasteland that the freedom riders sought to fertilize with the seeds of democracy, justice, and equality, that vast wasteland has never been confined to my Mississippi. We know that. Ugliness, hatred, fear, mistrust, and the push to make America less perfect than what she wants, it spreads from the Atlantic to the Pacific Oceans, from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico, and yes, from the Grand Canyon to the banks of and in and around the Potomac River. Graduates, will you take that baton? Unlike the freedom riders, as lawyers, you will have incredible power. With your law degree and your bar card, you will be given the key to the courthouse. You will be empowered to unlock that door and make justice real, make justice solid, and make justice tangible. With that key, you will have the power to stand in the gap for someone. With that key, you will be given the authority to speak for the voiceless. With that key, you can make compelling arguments to those invested with Article 3 powers. Make those arguments that would convince a judge that America indeed can be made more perfect. With that key, remind us judges that we are the last refuge for so many. With your key, remind us judges of what the U.S. Supreme Court said 80 years ago. Courts stand against any winds that blow as havens of refuge for those who might otherwise suffer because they are helpless, because they are weak, because they are outnumbered, or because they are non-conforming victims of prejudice and public excitement. You, ladies and gentlemen, are the citizen soldiers we need. You have the key. You have the power. As I prepare to close, I want to introduce you to one of the Article 3 giants, Judge Carlton Henderson, a revered colleague on the district court in California. He's known for many things, including being the first judge to declare that that gay people, like racial minorities, are entitled to equal protection and due process under our Constitution. He was also the first Black attorney in the Civil Rights Division of the United States Department of Justice back in the 1960s. So as he traveled around the South fighting for the America that she wanted to be, Lawyer Henderson in 1963 came upon a flyer at a doctor's office in Selma, Alabama. That flyer read, "What have I personally done to maintain segregation?" Well, that flyer, a copy of that flyer is now framed and sits in his chamber. So as you leave here today, I want you to think about how you will use your key and the power it brings. And I want you to ask yourself every day, what have I done to make America more perfect? What will you do when that cry for justice begs for you? Will you come forward with your key? How will you make America more perfect? When that parent comes to you and says, my child suffers from dyslexia, she needs special services and the school will not give her what she needs, what will you do with your key? When that father comes to you and cries to you and says, over the phone, they told me that they had plenty of vacancies, but when I showed up, they told me, they said we were wrong. There is no vacancy here. The house is no longer for sale. What will you do with your key? Will you use your key to come to the rescue of that migrant worker, that essential employee who is being mistreated by her employer. What have I done to make America more perfect? Will you use your key to provide pro bono services? When that sixth generation American of Asian descent cries out to you, they attacked me, they spit on me, they coughed on me, they called me Wuhan, they said to me, go back to China. How will you use your key? When those imprisoned write to you and tell you about the conditions under which they must serve their sentences, will you come forward and use your key to argue that just because they have been convicted, they have not lost their humanity? As a trial lawyer, will you use your key to deprive one from serving on a jury just because of his race, her sex, or her religion? Will you use your key and your power to advocate for criminal justice reform, for bail reform? Will you be a prosecutor who understands the most powerful weapon in your toolbox is that of discretion? Will you be a prosecutor who understands that redemption is real? As prosecutors, will you have the courage to also advocate for police reform, juvenile justice reform? What have I done to make America more perfect? Will you use your key to make sure that judges appreciate that children are indeed different, they are capable of redemption, and that indeed all are worth saving? Will you close the door to the schoolhouse, the jailhouse syndrome that festers in so many of our communities? What will you do with your key when that child who has two dads or two moms and is ridiculed not only by her classmates, but her teachers? What have I done to make America more perfect? With this power that you have now earned, will you advocate for more diversity in our profession, from the law firms to the state agencies, to the prosecutor's offices, and yes, especially among our judiciary? Will you stand in the gap to those children who are our fellow citizens, yet their parents are not? Will you stand up for that parent whose child is your fellow citizen, but that parent is here on foreign soil? Will you use your key to stand up for that person who celebrates Ramadan, even though you are committed to the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost? What have I done to make America more perfect? ACS graduates, be our citizen soldiers. Be our revolutionaries. Be our abolitionists. Be our suffragettes. Be our freedom riders. And yes, be our counter-protesters, the Heather Heyers of the world, if you will. Dissent from indifference. Dissent from apathy. Take the baton and use your key to do justice. Use your key to reject those who are masters of confusion and deception. Reject all of them, regardless of their station and position in life. Those who peddle in hatred, fear, division, and distrust, reject them, for they are on the wrong side. Believe in the capacity and the greatness of America, the America that believes she can be made more perfect. ACS graduates, do justice and make our America more perfect. Thank you so very much.